I laugh every single time I see anything about like the male loneliness epidemic because every woman I know is like the most beautiful, considerate, thoughtful, lovely person and is trying to find love. And then every man I encounter is fumbling the baddest bitch on the planet because of their own ego or own self issues.
From how much a man should spend on a ring, to how long he should wait to reply to a text message, and why men and women don't see sex the same way. I've got it all for you today. So let's not waste any time and get into the mess.
Girl brain is if you text him and he texts you back right away, ick, get a hobby, call your mom. But if you text him and he takes like too long to respond, it's like, oh my God, like, does he even like me? Like now I'm insecure, like I'm not feeling well, but also like kind of hot. But also like, don't be too quick, you know? But if you text him and then he answers like too soon, it's also like, oh my God, like he wants it so bad. Like that's kind of like hot. And if you text him and he doesn't answer, ultimate hotness. That is the hierarchy. That is the almighty.
Even though I think this is just a little funny video she put together as she's a comedian, what makes comedy funny and relatable is that it holds up a mirror to reality. What she's talking about in this video is the kind of thing guys experience all the time, which is why we have people teaching men to not message women back right away, and guys pretending that they're busier than they actually are, so they don't give off that needy vibe. These mind games have become off-putting for some guys though, and is part of the reason they're checking out of the dating game altogether. In my experience, when a girl's genuinely into a guy, him replying to her messages quickly isn't going to turn her off. But what'll make her start thinking differently is if she picks up on the fact that he's faking being busy and not being able to reply. If you do come across a girl who likes to play these sorts of games though, and you're a guy who's really about your business, let her go and don't waste your time.
A woman refused to accept a $38 Temu engagement ring from her fiancé who makes six figures, and then asked if she was in the wrong. She shared the story on Reddit saying that she's been with her fiancé for 3 years and he proposed just a few weeks ago. She was really excited about the proposal and at first glance thought the ring was fine and was even complimented on it by her friends who said it was stunning. She asked her fiancé where he got the ring and he was reluctant to tell her, but he did say that he got a good deal on it. She asked if it was a diamond or moissanite, out of curiosity, and he said he didn't know so he would look it up. She glanced at his phone and saw him on the Temu app. Temu! She was like, and then he got upset that she was bothered by it, even though he didn't think it mattered, and he left the room to sleep on the couch. She downloaded the app the next day and saw that the ring was only $38, and she was confused as to why her fiancé would get her something as monumental as an engagement ring from, and I can't stress this enough, Temu. For reference, according to a 2023 The Knot study, the average cost of an engagement ring in the US is $5,500. Like, yeah, that is a lot to spend on a ring, and couples definitely don't have to spend that much for it to be special and meaningful. But it kind of feels like dude just went on Temu and picked out any old ring without taking her preferences into account. His primary concern should have been getting a ring that reflected his fiancé's style, and ideally didn't turn her finger green and could stand the test of time. The Temu thing, it just shows a lack of thought and consideration. Cost is less important than thoughtfully choosing something for the love of your life. It is meant to last a lifetime.
I find it funny that she liked the ring at first, but when she found out how much he may have paid for it, it all changed. To me, this whole thing just kind of signals how much people tend to equate someone's financial investment into a relationship to how much they care, which just isn't true. I mean, check out what this commenter said, for example. My ex spent $800. He still cheated. Price means nothing. Even though she said that the average price for an engagement ring was $5,500, not everyone can afford that. And to a lot of people, $800 is pretty steep. And even then, in that commenter's case, her relationship still failed. In fact, when it comes to weddings, the more people spend on the big day, the more likely it is they'll get a divorce. So splashing out isn't really in your best interest, especially if you don't have the funds for it and need to take out loans, which sadly is what some couples do. According to a report from CNN, the study revealed that a higher expenditure on your wedding could lead to an increased likelihood of divorce. The researchers' paper states that among men, spending between $2,000 and $4,000 on an engagement ring is linked to a 1.3 times higher risk of divorce in comparison to spending between $500 and $2,000. Furthermore, The research indicated that weddings with a budget of under $1,000 have a lower probability of divorce, in contrast to those exceeding $20,000, resulting in a 1.6-fold increase in the likelihood of divorce among women. I've never been a fan of big weddings, and it's not just because of the money. It's also because I don't see the point in having all these distant relatives, who I never see, by the way, come out to have fun at my expense, only to never hear from them again. What's the point of that? I'm convinced that people who are super focused on the big day, or how much money is spent on rings and all that, aren't really thinking about what it actually means to be married. If, like most of us, you're not rolling in the cash, you'd be much better off putting that money for a wedding day into a house, which is what some of these Redditors did. We spent $400 on our wedding and put the rest towards our house. Total for me, for every single cost, was like $1,900. I got grilled so much by my family for it. My mom acted like I was committing a felony by having a small wedding. I bought a house 11 months later, and it took every dang dollar we had to our name, and that was huge for our lives. Way more important than one night of fun. But yeah, I'm getting a little off topic. Before seeing this clip, I wasn't too sure what the big issue was with Temu, because it's not something I've ever used. Cheap online stores like that have always been sus to me. But if it's true that there are known issues with the quality of their products or them containing harmful substances, then yeah, I can see why she'd be annoyed, especially if her partner was aware of this. But if it's just about the price, maybe she should think about what's really important and how her partner is actually showing up to the relationship every day. Before I move on to the next video though, I wanted to share these last few comments. So she loved it, everybody was complimenting it, and everything was perfectly fine and amazing until she found out where it was from. He doesn't love her. And this person replied with, or the symbol of commitment has nothing to do with cost. Hope that helps you understand. I'm glad I'm in a relationship with someone who believes principles and morals is more than a ring. Anyway, what do you guys think about all this? Let me know in the comments.
I laugh every single time I see anything about like the male loneliness epidemic, because every woman I know is like the most beautiful, considerate, thoughtful, lovely person and is trying to find love. And then every man I encounter is fumbling the baddest bitch on the planet because of their own ego or own self issues. I was supposed to go on a first date a week ago. This was with somebody that I had met in real life through a friend. We got along super well. Honestly, he was doing everything right leading up to the date. He was like calling me and texting me and being really sweet, and even like texting our mutual friend and being like, oh, like, what does Tanya like? And he was doing great. However, we were supposed to go out Saturday during the day. On Friday night, we were on the phone, just chatting, and he asked me to send him my location. And I said, no. I was like, you don't need to know my address. We've only met once. Like, I don't know you like that. I told you my neighborhood if you're trying to figure out how far you are from me. That's all you really need to know. And when I said that, he was like, oh, why? Do you think I'm going to abduct and kidnap you? And I was like, no, but I don't know you. I'm not sending you my address. And then I decided to let it slide because sometimes people just say dumb things and they don't think about it. I didn't genuinely get a feeling of unsafety or danger. But then the next day, like 30 minutes before we're supposed to meet, we were supposed to go to this market thing together and then maybe like go to a park to play chess. And he was like, hey, like, let's skip the market. And then he had planned out like this whole day. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great, but I do really want to go to the market as well. So like maybe we can do both. To which his response was, Tanya, you're making it really hard to abduct and kidnap you. How are you making this statement twice? It wasn't funny the first time you did it. It's still not funny the second time you did it. So when he said that to me, I was like, hey, you might not want to make comments like that to a woman that you barely know. And he was like, oh, my sense of humor is just like dark and offensive. If that's a deal breaker for you, let me know. And I was like, no, dark and offensive humor I'm fine with. My therapist literally told me that I had the darkest sense of humor of anyone she's ever met. But I was like, jokes are generally funny. And then instead of apologizing at this point, he just doubled down and he said, TBH, I don't really appreciate being told how to socialize. Motherfucker, what? First of all, I didn't tell you how to socialize. All I said was, jokes are generally funny. Second of all, it sounds like you do need someone to tell you how to socialize because, oh my God, what is wrong with you? And then I was like, hey, I don't really appreciate being told that I'm gonna get abducted and kidnapped by someone I'm about to go on a date with, so I'm just gonna go ahead and cancel this. And I did. And all of this is to say, if you see anything about the male loneliness epidemic and you're a male and you're wondering why, just know it is of your own doing. We are trying, but good fucking God, get your shit together.
I don't know if this guy was just super confident in his ability to get women so wouldn't have any trouble with lining up another date, or is he incompetent and unable to read the room? When you're dating and getting to know someone, you have to be able to adapt to whatever's going on in your situation. Saying that though, I don't know how clear she was with the guy about how she felt about the joke, because they kinda just moved on from it. It was only when he mentioned it the second time that she went into how she felt, and he just responded in a way that made it seem like he didn't care about how she took it. Is he the kind of man who doesn't care about going on a date, or does he lack social skills like she suggests? Honestly, I don't know, because I know guys who are brazen like this, and they don't struggle in the dating department. Their mentality is, you win some, you lose some. When it comes to the whole male loneliness epidemic thing though, I don't think her bad date or non-date really has anything to do with it. It's a much deeper issue than what can be covered in a quick video like this. But Shoe on Head covered it pretty well, so if you want to check out her video, I'll leave a link in the description.
Stop letting these men put babies in your belly if they didn't put a ring on your finger first.
But why do men sleep with women they don't see a future with? Why would you sleep with a woman that you would never marry? I think that makes you a bad guy. So many men will know that they don't see you as their future wife. They don't see a future with you, but they'll gladly use your body. They'll gladly string you along. It is not talked about enough how cruel it is that men will use women's bodies, make them feel like, oh, they see a future with them, give them all this sweet talk, but instead they're just using their body until they're bored with you. I do think as a woman, you should have very high boundaries around physical intimacy. I do think you should know a man is going to take you seriously before giving him access to your body. But so often it's always pointing fingers at women. Why did you get pregnant with this guy? That men are probably promising these women a beautiful future until they're bored of them. And I think that is evil. Yes, women should have boundaries and standards about the men they interact with, the men they date, give their energy to, and give their body to. But let's not pretend like men aren't probably the biggest problem in this equation. Using women that they don't see any future with.
Just by the way she started this video, makes me think that she believes men should see sex the same way women do. But that's just not the case, and it's not going to happen. Men don't face the same risks as women when it comes to sex, which is why women are much more selective than guys when it comes to who they choose to sleep with. When she talks about women having higher standards and boundaries when it comes to who they share their body with, she's right. Men who are good with women in terms of getting laid and all that aren't going to change their ways. Why would they? They're getting exactly what they want. Women would benefit much more from being able to identify guys who don't see anything long-term with them, which I'll admit is not always the easiest thing to do in some instances. Anyway, before I close out this video, let's check out the comments quickly. This first person says, "Men don't think like women, and we need to stop being surprised about this." And the original creator responded with, "Yes, don't ever give them access to you without seriously vetting them." The obvious answer is, they just want the cookie, plain and simple. Men don't care. They can sleep with 100 women and not give a hoot about them. Sex doesn't equal love for men. And these last comments say, "I think it's the same reason women sleep with men they know ain't no good. Women melt over the bad boy that slaps them around while leaving the good guy unread, who would actually love you correctly." I think a lot of men actually make promises to women and deceive them and pretend to be good people. But yeah, that's it for today, guys. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments so we can chop it up.